بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين وآله الطيبين الطاهرين وأصحابه المنتجبين ومن تبعهم بإحسان إلى قيام يوم الدين. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. This is the obviously final talk in the month of Ramadan, and these are very, very blessed nights. And I want to just talk a little bit about what we achieve meaningfully in this month of God. Now, we all say that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the host and we are the guest. And the host never disappoints the guest. What is, however, limiting is the guest's perception of what the host can give and can bestow. You see, we have a host who has created an ending universe. We have a host who has created 7 layers of paradise. And beyond that, he says he has much, much more. Now, this host has created, according to the Quran and according to the spiritual literature from the Blessed Prophet and the Imams, he has created all of this without a pause for thought in an instance. Now, here is where the guest needs to understand full well. What do I seek from the host? Do I seek life and health and wealth? But then, is that a really worthy demand from the host who says, ask me and I shall respond? If we look into it very, very, very carefully, there is no reward beyond the host himself. And in fact, if we look at it very closely, we will see that we are driven by the want of finding and embracing the host, because everything else is a mere reflection of his beauty. So whatever we are after is a aspect, a very filtered down reflection of what that beauty is. And no matter how much of it we get, we are never ever satisfied. He gives us life, the life will end, and we will want more life. He gives us health, well, we will want more health. He will give us wealth, we will want more wealth. There is no satisfaction. And the reason why there is no satisfaction is that we are after the real thing. And the real thing is there for us to claim. We need to ask ourselves, what is it that we really, really want? Now, if the host is so grand, so beautiful, so perfect, so full of knowledge, then it doesn't even make sense to ask from the host of worldly things. We should say, well, you know what is best for me, and I entrust my affairs onto you and leave it in your capable hands. Of course, not denying that we ask him for things and be genuine to our own souls, but I'm saying let us introspect slightly. So now what stops us from wanting the host himself? It is our lack of recognition of what the host is. So rationally, we will deduce that the only thing we want is God himself, because everything else is meaningless. But why is it that we do not feel that deep-seated yearning to embrace our beloved? And instead, we have this yearning towards everything else, which only amounts to a mere faint ray of his beauty. The thing is that deep inside there, we are not really realizing the truth. So at a rational level, we may construct proper arguments to convince us, but until and unless we feel it deep inside, we are not going to come to that realization that he is the only one that we want. I'll just bring to mind that epic statement of Hussein ibn Ali salamullah alayh that I almost repeat in every gathering of ours. He says, "Oh Allah, if I have you, then what do I lack? But at the absence of you, even if I have everything, What do I really have? I have nothing. So why is it that we don't really feel that desire to embrace God? The only reason is because the house of God is occupied by us. When we vacate the house of God, then God can occupy his own seat and his own throne. The arsh of God is a mere reflection to the house of God that is within us. Whereas the world is a reflection of his beauty, the mighty throne of God is a mere reflection of the throne that is within us. Now, that throne is occupied by us. Until and unless we vacate or begin to vacate that throne, the divine light will not begin to occupy it. And that is the reason we do not feel this yearning to be with him in a directed manner. Now, I want us to draw our attention to that beautiful verse of the Quran. وَلَنَبْلُوَنَّكُمْ بِشَيْءٍ مِنَ الْخَوْفِ وَالْجُوعِ وَنَقْصٍ مِنَ الْأَمْوَالِ وَالْأَنفُسِ وَالثَّمَرَاتِ فبشر الصابرين الذين إذا أصابتهم مصيبة قالوا إنا لله وإنا إليه راجعون. Now this verse is quite remarkable. We pronounce this verse when people die. And in our minds, what it means is that, well, the body belonged to God and the body has been returned to God. And that is the most inaccurate interpretation of the verse. What the verse is saying is that we are Allah's and we are returning to Allah. But when do we pronounce this verse? We pronounce it when we lose things. And the Quran is saying, indeed, we will test you by diminishing of wealth, by fear, by lessening of your produce, which would mean death. At that time, give the glad tidings to those who say, well, we are Allah's and we are returning to Allah. It's a verse that is to be pronounced during the lifetime, not at the point of death. Why during the lifetime? Because whenever other than Allah is taken away from us, our wealth, children, fruit, houses, name, health, we are saying to ourselves that these things were not us. By the removal of these things, we are returning to Allah by breaking away from a false illusion, something with which we had become comfortable with, that was not really ours, that was occupying the house of God, has left the house of God. And in its place, the light of God can now re-emerge from his own throne or reascend his own throne. So what happens is that the hearts, due to the bodily state of ours, have occupied an alien state, which is a very arbitrary and artificial state, by filling itself up with control, with love, with possession, with name, with a sense of comfort, the way we think, the outlook. And the whole process of life is to cut these things away from us. So as soon as something is removed from us, we say, oh Allah, I am yours. I was never a part of this thing with which I associated. And that became an intimate part of my character and my personality. The thing that gave me my identity was not me. By its removal, I realize that internally I have always been yours. Artificially and superficially, I became a part of something else. By its removal, I am reminding myself that I belong to you, and you are clearing the space for yourself to emerge through me, and I'm returning to you. So this return is a return in lifetime, not when a person dies. And we clear the inner being. Now, how does that make sense? Do we have to wait for death, diminishing of fruits, loss and fear? No. It means we have to loosen those attachments. In the month of Ramadan, in these final days, the greatest thing that is on offer is the entirety of the splendor of the beloved. The reason we are making prayers and the prayers are getting answered in a very superficial way is because we are not making right prayers. We are asking God for contentment, not knowing that God is contentment. We are asking God for things, not knowing that God is the satisfaction. It is not the trillions and the zillions. We are asking God for control, not knowing that God Himself is the confidence. We ask God for the kingdom of Solomon, not knowing that the kingdom of Solomon is not even a speck of dust compared to where we want to be. So, in this month of Ramadan, the surest way to get that ultimate prayer answered is by us clearing the house of God from everything else that we have attached with. Now, that does not mean we do not become caring and loving. No, we care and we love for all the ties that we have in our heart with the beautiful people around us. We care and we love them immensely. Allow ourselves to feel that emotion. It does not mean that we do not strive to earn a livelihood or make this world a better world. No, we do all of that. But when those things do not happen, when the heart breaks because the beloved leaves us or rejects us, feel the pain, give it away to God, and say, but oh Allah, when was this heart ever a belonging of my worldly beloved? It was your belonging. Inna lillah wa inna ilayhi raji'un. I am Allah's, and to Allah I return. And the breaking of the heart is the greatest gift from God. I have felt the pain, O Lord, and now I return to you. Have the kingdom of Solomon, but do not be attached to it. And when there is attachment and there is pain, because that attachment is severed, then thank Allah that you are allowing me to arrive at the threshold of a kingdom like which there exists no other kingdom. At the breaking of the heart, say to Allah, O Lord, you are giving me a taste of your embrace in which there is love, after which there is no grief or pain. O Lord, I am fearful. Now, after feeling this fear, I run into the embrace of your security, after which there is no fear, even if my body is cut into 1,000 pieces. Every drop of blood will cry out your name, that thank you for receiving me. Now look at the end of this verse, it's striking. Ulaika alayhim salawatun. These are the people upon whom are benedictions and blessings of the Lord and his mercy. Now imagine that when the ties sever of this world, there is an opportunity of reversion to God, not to fill it up with something else. Reversion to God. And as we revert to God, He says, at that point, my blessings are showered upon that heart, and my mercy embraces that heart, meaning that I give my own light to them, and they complete their own self. What is on offer in the month of Ramadan is the ultimate. Where is the deficiency? In the one who is asking. Where is the lack of receptivity? In the house of God. The house of God, when it's filled and cluttered and clustered, it can never receive the divine. And the divine, He is so majestic and so full of pride that He does not share His seat with anybody else. When we give ourselves over to Him meaningfully, He will make sure that the idols occupying His seat are all crushed and destroyed. The road to the beloved is a painful road, but at every level of pain, there is the reception of the beloved. And this reception is so overwhelming that after losing his Akbar, his Abbas, his Asghar, he is crushed. Yet when the blade arrives at his thirsty neck, he radiates and breaks into a smile. And that is when the beloved claims his own. I will stop there. If anybody has anything to say, wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Thank you, Shaykh, for that beautiful talk. If anybody has any questions, they can use the raise hands function. Shaykh, someone had sent me a question in earlier. They said, what is his view on the fact that most Islamic jurisprudence says that a divorced woman will lose custody of her child if she remarries?
So, according to our understanding, these are solitary narrations, and we cannot establish decisively that is the case. Now, that is according to the traditional take, the contrary. But according to my view, these were the norms within Arabia, and societal law and familial law has got nothing to do with Islam as such. These laws were based on the principles of justice and human nobility. Now, as that changes, these laws will also change. The rightest way is that the child has access to both the parents after they're grown up, and whilst they haven't grown up, both the parents have shared custody or they work it out in a way that the child's life is not compromised. And that is what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants. Now, I have written about this, not particularly about marriage and child custody, but the overall theme that how the Islamic societal law ought to be secular and how it was secular. It is not, and religion was, it was only a religious intervention momentarily in Islam and God Centricity, book 4, that is already out on Amazon.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Shaykh. We have another question here saying, how do you detach yourself from the wants of the world in your prayers?
So what we do is that when we pray, we find the right posture, the right circumstances, the right environment, create the right environment and surrounding, and the right speed with which to pray, where we are not distracted. And we become mindful of the laws of jurisprudence. Now, the laws of jurisprudence are very, very helpful. They say when you say Allahu Akbar, be still. Before going into ruku, be still. In your qiyam, be still. When you stand from the ruku, stand up straight and then say Sami Allahu liman hamida. Then be still when you say Allahu Akbar. In prostration, be still. Then pronounce things clearly. What that will do is what you are doing in the exercises before the lecture, becoming mindful. It will make a person mindful of their gestures, of their motions, of their speech. It will make them so mindful that they will start forgetting everything else, and all the thought processes will start canceling out. So the jurisprudential part of Salah is like a mindful exercise, mindfulness exercise, and it does a lot to the inner being.
Thank you, Sheikh. The one last question is, Salam Sheikh, very moving talk. Is pain meant to be a prerequisite to accessing the divine?
Yes, because pain signifies the loss of the self. The only reason we pain is because we lose a portion of ourselves, because we are so self-centered. Pain issues when something is uncomfortable to the self, when we lose attachment, when attachments are severed, when we feel offense. So that is chipping away at the self. And as the self is reduced, it means its false identity is going, and in its place, the real thing is being received.
Thank you, Sheikh. Sheikh, there was a supplementary question saying, do we pray with a low voice or silently?
No. Is this a female asking?
Yes.
Yeah, choose whatever feels right to you.
Okay.
You will feel sometimes with a low voice, sometimes with a whisper, sometimes with silence.
All right. Thank you so much, everyone. Any more questions? There will be no dhikr today. So inshallah, we will see everyone in 2 weeks. Thank you, Sheikh, for a lovely talk. Eid
God
Mubarak,
bless.
everyone, and see you inshallah.
Bye. Take care. Khudafis. Khudafis.